Hello, divine messy humans, and welcome back to the podcast. Apologies, there has been a little delay in releasing this one. I have actually been away, which was beautiful. I went bush Victoria and we got to stay amongst kangaroos and bushland, and we took the dog, and it was just exactly what I needed. I needed some rest and relaxation. And this came after a big weekend of study in Sydney where I was delving into my problem pattern, how I run all of the problems in my life, not just learning it for me, but also learning it to bring into clinic. And then when my flight was delayed, I actually got sick, which is really unusual for me. I think I can count on a couple of fingers how often I've been sick in the last 5 years. But the illness was actually a really massive blessing for me. It, one, allowed me to slow down. It allowed me to integrate what had happened in Sydney, all of the deep clearings that I'd done. I cleared 6 out of my 8 archetypes, not just my problem pattern, but also a couple of my passion and purpose archetypes, which was a phenomenal experience. And also, it was a lot of deep diving. A lot of trauma clearing and a lot of integration was required. So I understood why I got sick. It allowed me that time to slow down, to take the foot off the accelerator, to be for a little bit. And also knowing that then once I got back, I had this week to go up into Victorian bush with my partner and my puppy. I knew I would have that time in nature to reground, to reconnect. And it's been really interesting getting back from that week away. I'm still in a little bit of a go slow, I'm not going to lie. I am enjoying the slightly slower pace. But I've also noticed that some of my old rituals are back in place more regularly. And what do I mean by that? Often when things are going really well, some of those rituals and spiritual practices that we do when times are tough aren't as regular in our life. Now, I have a ritual every morning in the shower where I cleanse and clear my aura. I cleanse and clear any hooks, cords, seeds, spores, attachments, whatever it is that's not mine. I imagine not just cleansing my physical body, but also my emotional, mental, auric fields, all of those energy centers within me. And that was pretty much one of the only rituals I was regularly doing. Obviously, I shower daily. And what I've noticed is a real pull back to a number of other rituals that used to be really commonplace. So I have been going to my cards a lot more. I took them on holiday with me and I was looking at them probably 2 or 3 times in the week. And it really reconnected me to my intuition, which is strong anyway, but I think finding different tools that we use with our intuition really, really helps us with that practice of trust, with the practice of tapping in, and with the practice of reading different symbols that are being shown to us. So I really enjoyed reconnecting with a couple of the decks of cards that I have. Another thing that I've brought back in is daily writing. Now, since I wrote my book, I've actually written very, very little pen to paper. And pen to paper is the best way to journal. There is something about that physical, tangible touch that certainly for me does it a lot better justice than typing or using electronics. I think that disconnection from that electrical apparatus, for want of a better word, is actually something that I need more. So putting pen to paper has been really, really useful. Now, what I noticed in my week away is as all of the problem pattern work that I had been doing was integrating and becoming embodied in me, my anxiety was rising. And often you find this when you do some big healings, when you do some big releases, and when you do some really deep spiritual work, often you can find that these cellular patterns, these cellular memories come up. So my anxiety was quite bad while I was away. Luckily, I was able to recognize it. And also I knew the tool to use to help me shift through it in a easier way than I would have previously. And so I've been using my writing to empty my head in the morning, but also to ask a question. And so I will often, once I've emptied my head of all of the random thoughts and I've done what I consider that automatic writing, where I just literally write whatever comes into my head and get it out of there. After that empty out has happened, I am writing a sentence. Dear soul, what would you like me to know today that's for my highest good? And then I take a big deep breath. I center into my heart space. I open my eyes when I feel ready, and I just let the words flow from the pen. So the first part is like a really big dump and empty out, an emotional vomit on the page. The next bit is a directed question. Now, instead of soul, you can use higher self or God or source or universe or whatever it is that you want to write to. What you're effectively doing is tapping into the higher part of you, that divine guidance that we all have access to. And in doing that writing, I haven't actually read any of them back. I usually wait a few days, a week, before I go back and have a look, because I find that then I get the messages from it in a very different way. I also did a 6-month card reading for my business, which I do every 6 months, but I was running a month late with it this year, or this time around. And it's something that I have pinned on my wall just as a reference point. It's amazing how accurate it ends up being. So I pulled 2 cards for each month from 2 different packs to give me the different messages and themes that I'm going to be going through. And it's this really beautiful little touch point for me. Often when I'm struggling, I'll have a little look at the card reading that I've done previously, and it'll be like, oh my God, that's so scarily accurate. And also then I can pull some more cards for clarity. But it gives me this really great overview of what I'm going to be working through. And like I say, the freakish accuracy of it is always amazing to me. I've also been connecting differently with nature. I'm asking a question at the beginning of my walk that I would like an answer to, or I'd like some guidance on. I've had my earbuds in a lot less, so often I would use my walk to listen to audiobooks or listen to podcasts, but I've really reduced my time in doing that. I feel like this is a time for me to sort of wrap myself a little bit in these more spiritual practices, using my walk as a meditation, using my time at the beach to connect to nature, to ask for messages of divine guidance to come through. I've also been having my ceremonial cacao on a daily basis. Prior to this, I would have one every now and then where I wanted to really, I guess, connect in at a deeper level. But since I've been back, I've been using it as a little ritual to nourish and nurture myself and to reconnect into my heart, to ground myself, to open myself to divine guidance. And it has been a beautiful way for me to really connect into the bodily desires and that more sensual aspect of being human, using taste and smell and touch and the warmth, using all of those senses and bringing them in to really heighten the way that I'm connecting in to my body, to my intuition, and to my more spiritual self. There's probably another few rituals that I may have forgotten, but another major thing that I did was I cleared out my clinic space. There were piles of papers that were getting a little bit out of control, as sometimes happens, and it was making me feel a little bit anxious. Anxious is probably the best word there. I didn't feel as organized as I usually do. I felt like things were getting on top of me, and especially having had a week off where I had a lot of things to catch up on, spending that hour or two tidying my clinic space has completely changed the energy. And it's a really interesting thing. I'd been doing all of these other rituals to connect me into my body and soul, but I hadn't really thought about the space that I'm working in. So it was a really amazing ritual for me to do and to really change the energy of how I'm working and where I'm working. And I also created a beautiful crystal grid to, again, help with that clearing of the energy. Since getting back, I have also cleared out a whole heap of little bitty admin things that I had been intending on doing for quite some time. So it really feels coming back like I'm doing this bit of a wash clean, a wash clean of the slate. And I don't actually know what I'm preparing for. But that bit's okay. Because what I'm doing is I'm really enjoying reconnecting to some of those things that used to be in my daily life, that slipped away because of that busyness, because I was always making excuses not to do it. Yet now I'm back in the habit, I've realized how much I've missed it, how much I've needed it, how much I have taken some of those rituals for granted as well, because the ones that have been there regularly, I'm honoring more and I'm putting more intention into. So again, even with things that you do daily, sometimes reminding yourself that it is a ritual, that it is sacred, and that there is an intention there that it is going to be a part of your healing journey can be really amazing. It can just amplify what you are doing for yourself. And so even though I may have pulled a card once or twice a week before, now that I'm doing it with intention 3 times a week, it feels so much more potent and powerful. The cacao that I used to do probably weekly, having it daily feels luxurious. It feels like I am really honoring all of my senses. I am becoming really connected into this human body, which is the point of embodiment, is not to leave the body, it's to be at home in the body. And it's changing something, and I can't wait to see what. So anyway, if you've got any questions, if you've got any rituals that you do on a regular basis, please share them. Share with me how you're feeling, what kinds of things you do. If you've got any questions about the rituals that I've discussed, let me know, because again, I can go into some of them in more detail. I can do a demonstration video, whatever it is that you need. Remember that we are all connected to the divine. We are all messily human. And the more we can accept and love our divinity and learn to accept and have compassion for our messiness, the easier our human existence becomes. Sending you love until next time.